Jesse Hodge, owner and founder of MODTUB. For those unaware, MODTUB was the first cold plunge that I personally ever bought. So excited to have Jesse on with me. What drew me to MODTUB in the first place is that you guys have this modular design and ethos, which I just loved because of just hearing about problems in the cold plunge industry, about parts breaking and whatnot. And I wanted more accountability. I wanted a tub that would bridge the gap between DIY and something that was a little more done for me. So that's why I stumbled upon Jesse and his company MODTUB. So yeah, what was your reason for doing the modular design like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It really is just kind of how it evolved. So I have a background in hot tubs, and with hot tubs, I used to refurbish used ones, and inevitably stuff is going to break on anything, whether it's a hot tub, a cold plunge, just over time, stuff's going to wear out. And accessing things on a hot tub is so difficult because all the components are inside, and replacing components is really easy, but the access is so tough. So when we started designing the MODTUB, we very intentionally put all the components on the outside. Everything connects with no tools. So if a pump breaks, it takes 10 minutes to swap out a pump. And same with the chiller. I mean, we have the pump, filter, and chiller all separate because they're going to wear out at different times. And that's why we say that our system can run, forever or indefinitely, because all of our parts are very easy to replace. And so we really pride ourselves on the modularity. I know a lot of people are going to these all-in-one chillers, and that makes things a lot easier in manufacturing because you only have to have 2 ports on the tub. So it's very convenient for the manufacturer. It's a lot less convenient for the consumer. So
well, it is convenient for the consumer at first because it takes like 4 seconds to set it up. But you pay for that on the back end when things go awry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. When something breaks in one of those, I mean, you're kind of stuck between two places. You either send the whole thing back, which is like this massive contraption you're trying to ship back, which is really expensive and difficult, or the manufacturer is asking you to go in and open it up and do a fairly complex, work to get the part fixed. So we avoid all that by keeping everything modular, and I don't see us changing that anytime.
Take control of your own health. I am so cold. It literally feels like electricity is running through my body. I feel superhuman.
I've seen a lot of other designs since seeing your company of the Grizzly cooler and that formation. Is that your design? And what made you pick the Grizzly cooler? Because I have to say it's awesome. Like, it comes with the top. It's a good size. I mean, I wish it was a little bit longer, but ultimately it's genius, quite frankly.
Yeah, thank you. I think that goes back to my background refurbishing hot tubs. Is they've made rotomolded plastic hot tubs for 50 years. So it's not really a new concept, but I didn't see that in cold plunging. So when we started thinking about making a cold plunge, my head immediately went to, what's the biggest plastic insulated container we can find? And we tried a few different coolers. So we tried the Yeti Tundra. I'm 6'4", pretty broad shoulders. So I did not fit in the Yeti Tundra very well. Eventually stumbled upon the cooler we use now. And yeah, I mean, that was totally original by us. We ordered 4 of them, shipped to my garage. My brother and I spent 6 months in my garage just tinkering, ordering all kinds of different hose, parts, fittings, and our design looks really simple. And what I've said before is we put a lot of work into making it look simple. And there's been others that have come after us with a similar design, and I think we put in the work to save them a lot of headaches. But I think you can feel a lot of different ways about that. Ultimately, like, we don't own that design, so we're just trying to focus on us and keep building a great company.
And so what made you want to leave hot tubs and get into cold plunging? Hot tub is so cozy and warm and nice, and you want to just have a business where your product kind of sucks to use while you're in it and then feels amazing after. But what made you want to make that jump?
Yeah, man, it's a good question. I could tell you a lot of hot tub stories, but basically when we started MODTUB as a hot tub company, we had these ideas that maybe they were good ideas, maybe they were bad, but the hot tub industry seemed a little outdated. The companies had been around forever. They sold in a really, this manufactured dealer model that pricing was really hard to get. It just lacked a lot of transparency and seemed like it needed some youth and a fresh company. So that was our vision when we launched MODTUB. MODTUB really, the name comes from the modern hot tub company.
Oh, I would have thought modular.
It works really well now because when we shifted to Cold Plunge and our design is so modular, I think that's what most people assume, and we'll roll with that. I think that makes more sense now. So anyways, we had these ideas to start this hot tub company. Maybe they were good, maybe they were bad, because I refurbish used hot tubs in my garage just as a side business, and that was a ton of fun. It was, pretty low risk and all profit. I mean, it was just a really simple business.
So what, you would buy broken hot tubs, fix them up, and then just resell them?
Yeah, exactly. So my wife and I bought our first house in 2018, and I love hot tubs. So I won my fantasy football league and, got $500 or something from that. So I had a little fun money. I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a hot tub. For $500, you cannot get a very nice hot tub. So I bought this POS hot tub off Craigslist, and it just had all these problems. But my father-in-law came and helped me fix it up, and I just really enjoyed working on it. It had elements of plumbing, elements of electrical, some aesthetic or kind of the frame and everything. So I just enjoyed working on it. I'm not a particularly handy person, but I fell in love with working on hot tubs. So we got that one fixed up, and I was like, this one's cool, but I could sell it and buy a nicer one. So I sold that one and, cleared $500 or $1,000 on it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then my friend was looking for a hot tub, and I'd done all this research. So then I helped him find one and fix it up. And then I just kind of snowballed from there, that I got to where just every weekend I go pick up a couple used hot tubs, and I learned a lot, like really simple strategies or whatever, like just taking better pictures. I could pick up a hot tub that someone just did a horrible description in pictures, but I know it's a nice hot tub. So I would go pick it up. I would, clean it up real good and take some good pictures and sell it for, $2,000 profit that same day.
Wow.
I mean, it was, but it's not incredibly scalable because you're at the mercy of, can you find the right hot tubs? I mean, you make your money when you buy the hot tub more than when you sell it. Like, you got to know what you're looking for and be able to see a good deal. But yeah, just kind of developed this strategy and found the brands I like and everything. So
I imagine that was Facebook Marketplace mostly.
Yeah, so there was some arbitrage. Like, you definitely sell them for the most on Facebook Marketplace, but you could buy them for the cheapest on Craigslist because people don't use Craigslist as much. But some older people are more familiar with Craigslist. So I'd buy them from Craigslist, fix them up, take better pictures, then sell them on Facebook Marketplace, and clear a couple $1,000s. And it was just a fun business. Like I said, I always thought of it as a side business. I think when the pandemic hit, I really started to think about it differently because the pandemic, the supply chain was so screwed up, nobody could get new hot tubs, and people were spending more money than ever before on their houses. So that's a perfect recipe for the used hot tub market to just go ballistic. So it was name your price. I mean, I would post a hot tub and have it sold within 2 hours.
Wow.
I mean, it was.
And did you have a day job at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my background's in finance and accounting, so I was still working an accounting job then, and that's why I said I always thought of it as a side gig up until 2020. I think I made more flipping hot tubs than I did for my accounting job. And that's when the wheels started turning of like, hey, maybe there's something here. Maybe we could really go for it. And that's when we launched MODTUB is we sold new hot tubs through MODTUB. So that was the original or the first iteration of MODTUB.
Got it. And then what? Cold plunging kind of took off. You kind of probably discovered it like the rest of us around that 2019, 2020 time. And
Yeah, basically exactly right. We started MODTUB in February of 22, and just nothing went how we thought it would. It was like the hardest year of my life.
did you quit your job to do this, or?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
So, quit my job to start MODTUB, and the hot tub business is pretty capital intensive because you got to buy the hot tubs up front. So it was just like the most stressful time of my life. Nothing went right with the hot tub business. It it's a different customer. It's a different installation process. Like they all need 220-volt electricity, which has a lot of complexity. They're a lot bigger. So we only delivered within 60 miles or 80 miles of Dallas. So a lot smaller market, a lot more competition. I mean, just everything about it, Cold Plunge is infinitely better. So we things were not going well the first year of ModTub as a hot tub company, but I think it was May of 2022, I saw Plunge on Shark Tank, and it just immediately clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so simple. That's a tub of water, a pump, a filter, and a chiller. Like, that's basically what I know about hot tubs, but just even simpler because you don't have to have all the complex circuit boards that's preventing freezing and all the. It was a lot simpler. So I saw Plunge on Shark Tank, and immediately my brother and I just started spinning our wheels and working on things, and never really knew what would come of it. I mean, it was kind of just what we do every Friday. We'd meet in my garage and work on the cold plunge, and a few times we almost threw in the towel because one thing I've had to battle with a little bit is I'm not the face of health and wellness, right? Like I love my pizza and my beer, and I'm not the face of health and wellness, and I never cold plunged until we made one. I mean, the first time I cold plunged was one that we built. So
That's so funny.
yeah, so I kind of always feel this imposter syndrome, if you will, or whatever, of like, you know, should I be the face of this? But over time, my brother Sawyer, who I do it with, and I have both really, really come to love the cold plunging community and cold plunging personally. I mean, we both do it at least 3 times a week, usually more than that. So it's definitely something we've grown into. And I'm trying not to talk bad about hot tubs or hot tub customers, but cold plunge customers are generally younger. They're healthy. They're just really cool. I mean, we needed people to be gracious with us and patient with us, especially as we were starting. I mean, we're not some like huge operation. I'm not an engineer. I mean, we're just a couple of guys who trying to offer a really good product at a good price. So the cold plunge customers have all been really, really supportive of us, and bared with us kind of through those first 6 months while we were figuring things out.
Yeah.
And now I think we got it pretty dialed in. So it's been a fun
Which
ride.
is a question that I wasn't planning on asking, but you kind of brought it up. I would predict 75% of your customers, 25 to 34-year-old males. 75%. Where am I at with that?
It's older than you
Okay.
think. I'd say it's probably, I'd go another 10 years. I'd go 35 to 45, or maybe even,
Really?
yeah.
And then male
It's- I don't-
dominated mostly?
Definitely male dominated. We've seen more females come into it lately, but yeah, definitely male dominated. And then, yeah, I'd say 35 to 50 is kind of the bread and butter.
So we've heard about your origin story, and then you have this first product. Now, I want to jump forward like 3 years to you're releasing a new design. Tell me about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, the original tub we used, we bought off the shelf. It's not something that we designed. It's something that was already out there, and that was so good to get started because we didn't have to front a ton of money for a mold or anything. I mean, we were able to get started very quickly and with pretty low investment.
And Grizzly was cool
But-
with you guys just working with them and kind of wholesaling their product and everything.
Yeah, for sure. I think to Grizzly's credit, they talked to us when we were nothing. I mean, we were just we were a hot tub company, and they were willing to kind of go on the journey with us. I think it's worked out pretty well for them, is if they've kind of become a face of cold plunging, and some other companies have worked with them and everything. So yeah, I think it was very mutually beneficial, and I am still very grateful to them for taking a chance on us when we had proven nothing yet. But yeah, they were good with us, modifying their coolers and selling them. So that was an awesome way to get started. I think as more companies have used their design, and as we've gotten deeper in, it just became clear that we want our own design. We want to have a unique look that's only to us. We want a little more control of, this new tub. There's a lot that the consumer will appreciate about it. I will say there's equally, if not more, that we appreciate on the manufacturing side about it, because it just already has all the holes in the right place, all the thread inserts and everything. So it makes manufacturing a lot easier and more efficient. And on the flip side, there's quite a few advantages to the consumer too. It's a little bit longer, and we didn't do the handles that stick out real wide like the Grizzly tub. So even though we added 6 inches in length, the footprint's almost the same because we don't have the handle sticking out as much. So that's probably the biggest thing. There's going to be some other unique features, like how the lid locks in place. It kind of snaps open and locks in place without any metal brackets. There's different kinds of metal you can use to help prevent rust, but just in general, water and metal don't go great together, especially if you're going to add ozone or chlorine or something. So we worked really hard to come up with a design that didn't rely on a metal bracket to hold the lid open.
So basically yours, so the new style it looks like your old one with the Grizzly. It'll just be your own proprietary tub, but it'll have the lid and everything.
Yeah, so it's the way I've described it is it's not like a full sale change from like version 1 to version 2. It's more of an evolution. So it's the same. I mean, it's still a rotomolded plastic tub with foam insulation. It's still
so you could use it as a cooler still, if you get bored of cold plunge.
For sure.
Okay,
Yep.
That'd be cool to just sell it as a cooler as well. Like just become a low key cooler company.
Yeah, we haven't done that with the Grizzly just because it inserts us into people's DIY projects, and like I feel like we sell such a good product that if we sell just the cooler, people come back to us and are like, oh, how do I do this? And how do I make my own DIY? And we're like, look, I mean, if you're making a cold plunge, we think we sell a great cold plunge at a great price. So that's kind of why we've avoided selling the Grizzly, just the cooler. But with the new tub, we still haven't decided totally if we're going to sell it alone or not. I would definitely be more open to it now that it's our design and that it's already got the ports in there and everything. So
yeah, but it comes with the lid.
Kind of TBD.
Because I've seen stuff with the pre-drilled ports and everything, but they don't have a lid, I think. So if you have the lid and the ports, I mean, that's going to be great for DIYers if you choose to go that route.
Yeah, and with the lid, I mean, the hard lid is so nice, and I know this from the hot tub world. The vinyl covers, kind of like hot tub covers. I mean, man, those just wear out. Like you got to replace them.
They get moldy too, right?
Yeah, so there are some hot tubs that have hard covers that's been around for a while. But the cold plunges that have those soft covers, I would just be wary of that, or just know you're going to have to replace it every couple years.
Yeah. So the new design then, it still is going to have the Active Aqua chiller component. Good.
Yep.
And
yeah, not changing any of the components really. Same components, just
is it going, since it's a little bit bigger, is it going to be more expensive for you guys to ship those out?
Maybe a little bit. Probably not a whole lot though, because like I said, it's really the internal dimensions are bigger, but the total footprint and total dimensions are not much bigger because the Grizzly has the handles that stick
Right,
out
right.
so
That's what you
far
were saying.
on the end, and ours has the handles kind of recessed into it. So the total package that we ship isn't, it's basically the same size, but internally when you're sitting in it, you add 6
That's
inches.
great. So why do you choose to use the quarter HP chiller versus the half HP?
Yeah, man, it's a good question. And one of the biggest pushbacks we had when we started MODTUB is everyone's like, oh, you can't use a quarter horsepower chiller and, all this stuff that people have heard. Plunge was already using the quarter horsepower chiller. So I think that gave us some confidence that, Plunge had more water, not as good insulation, and we're using the quarter horsepower. I think when you understand how insulated these tubs are, the chiller needs to bring the water down to temperature initially, but then it hardly runs at all because the tub holds temperature so well. It's just the difference between, a small room with a small air conditioner or like a huge commercial space that has to have a huge air conditioner. It's that same concept that it's not a ton of water in an insanely insulated enclosure with very little like airflow, or the ambient temperature doesn't affect it a whole lot because it's got 2 inches of spray foam in there insulating it. So the reason we don't use the half is just when you're thinking of the active aqua specifically, the jump from a quarter to a half in terms of BTUs and actual chilling capacity is not that much. It's not double. It's like 20 or 30% more. The jump from a half horsepower to a full horsepower is more than double. It's pretty substantial. So using the half is the worst value active aqua chiller by a landslide. The quarter horsepower is good, and then we've toyed around with offering the full horsepower for like a more commercial version or for people who just really think they need it. We've ended up not. I just don't believe people need it, and we really, really pride ourselves on value, and that would have to drive up the price if we're offering this bigger, more expensive chiller. And I just don't think you get hardly any additional functionality. I think people used to think like, oh, the bigger chiller can cool down lower, or that somehow it's going to change your experience a lot. It doesn't. How low the chiller can go is a function of the lowest setting on the chiller, not the chilling capacity. Our chiller, the quarter horsepower, can take the water as low.
Yeah, I guess I'm just under the impression that the more horsepower, the quicker that it'll bring the water temperature down. But then, like you said, once the water temperature is at a certain temperature, it's all going to work the same, unless you're in Arizona and the lid's not on. Then yeah, you need to just run that thing forever. But
yeah, in like a commercial setting, or if you're going to have the lid open and 10 different people using it over the course of 2 hours, maybe a bigger chiller would be helpful. But for residential use, 1, 2, 3, 4 people using it over a course of 20 minutes or so, it's the quarter horsepower is going to do the same as.
Now, have you guys tested other chiller brands?
Yeah, so we got a couple of those all-in-one chillers to try out, and I just didn't like them.
What are those? So those have the pump inside the unit. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's still a pump, a filter, and the chilling components. It's just all under the same.
Yeah. And in your experience,
structure.
The pump typically breaks down first, correct?
Typically, yes.
And then they also have like so many other electrical and like unnecessary Wi-Fi components which could easily go wrong. I know that like the ones that I've tested also, like they have their own app, but the app like absolutely sucks. It's done by like some other third party company, and they just don't really keep it up to date. It's all hogwash if you ask me. I don't really see a reason why a cold plunge needs to be connected to your Wi-Fi. I think you'd agree, maybe.
Man, that's hot take, right? You were looking for hot takes. But yeah, I totally agree. I think we've really really tried to pride ourselves on simplicity. Like we don't want this to be overcomplicated, and every Wi-Fi and fancy feature you add to it, that's just one more thing that can break. And we, at the end of the day, I don't think cold plunges are astronomically different from each other. I mean, they're all creating cold water, right? So we want to do that in the simplest way possible, and that's really what we've tried to do to make it super simple, high quality components, easy to replace, and just not a lot
Yeah.
that can
And
go wrong.
competitively priced, which I love about your company as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know what people think, how big they think we are. It's me and my brother, and then Valerie, our one other office employee, and then we've got some warehouse people who help with the building and stuff. But I mean, it's a small operation. We keep overhead really low, which is why we can offer such a good price. Is we don't have to sell, 50,000 units a year to be okay. We can grow slower and put more focus in it and just keep overhead lower so we can offer a good price.
So
And that's
every
what we try to
unit
do.
that goes out, like you and your brother have touched, basically, you would say?
Not anymore. I definitely the first 1,000 or so, really more my brother. We when we started ModTub as the hot tub company, right as we were pivoting to cold plunge, and hot tubs had gone so poorly, I took on another job because we couldn't. We were just burning cash. I was like, I got to get off ModTub's payroll, so I accepted a job the week we announced the launch of the cold plunge. And I told my brother, I said, if we sell 50 of these before I start the new job, then I won't take it. We ended up selling like 30 or so. So I took the new job, and he stayed at ModTub building the cold plunges. So he built by himself the first 200, 2 or 300. Um, and then, it just continued to take off and became clear that we had something good here. So I only worked that job for 2 or 3 months before coming back. But yeah, so my brother definitely has touched the first 300 or so. He built all those. And then we started hiring help probably 2 months into building. And I'll still jump in to build every once in a while. Sawyer will jump in quite a bit when he's needed. But yeah.
So this new unit, when's it coming out and how much are we looking?
Yeah, good questions. Target date is April 3rd. I don't think we've shared that very widely yet, just because, something I've learned and I've heard before, that the adage, everything takes longer and costs more than you think it should. That is held very true. We thought this thing would be ready like end of December, and here we are looking at early April. But um, yeah, so looking at early April, and then price wise, we're hoping to keep it almost the exact same price as our current tab. I think we'll probably do 3,200 for the base model. Then we'll do some like limited time colors that might have a little upcharge. But yeah, right in definitely between 3 and 4
That's
thousand.
awesome. And all the other components, like you said, are the same. So the pump will be the same. And you guys use the
Yep,
Higer
same
pumps or Hager? I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
No, we use
Got
a
it.
different pump now.
The Danner, do you use?
Yeah, we've used. No, we used the Danner for a bit. There's pros and cons to every pump, and I really love the one we use now. I think a lot of people have strong opinions of like why this one's better or whatever, but the Danners are too loud in my opinion. So that's the biggest knock against Danner, and they're hard to
They're
mount.
heavy
They
as
don't have
fuck
good
too.
mounting. They're heavy, and that volute, I think it's called, the intake where you screw a fitting in, that cracks really easily. So, there's nice things about Danner, and a lot of our customers have Danner pumps. But yeah, we really like
Got
what we
it.
use
Are you
now.
able to share the brand or no?
Yeah, I mean, there's several companies who make a similar pump. We get them from BLDC. It's a Yeah, it's got a little dial on it that you can turn the jet up and down,
Got
and
it.
uh, they've been really high quality, really strong jet. the only knock against them is they just have so many cores because you got to go through like a AC/DC converter. So it just has a bunch of cores, which is the one annoying
That's
thing.
probably why people don't use it for DIYs, because every time it's not like a normal like plug. You have to do that, put it into that box, right? And that kind of scares people like me away.
Yeah, we've weathered through that and decided it's worth it because those pumps perform fantastic, really strong jet, really high quality. So
that's great. So then, and as far as sanitation, you're just using the 20 micron filter. 50.
Yeah, we do 50 micron.
And you're not offering ozone?
No, we do offer ozone. Kind of similar to how we do on our tub now is we have the hole where you can snake the ozone hose through the lid, and we only have it set up to where you can do ozone that has an air pump with it. I'm going to be honest, I don't trust Venturis. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like, they're supposed to create this suction, and most people build a Venturi on their filter housing. And those are pretty hard to build. I mean, they take a long time, so that definitely is a factor of they're not super simple. But more than that, I don't have a lot of confidence that they're working. And especially when it's tied into the filter, like how clogged your filter is very directly affects how much the Venturi is sucking in and pulling. So anyway, say all that to say, I'm sure there's a lot of people who do the Venturi great and people who love it, and that's fine, because the ozone generators that use a Venturi, the ozone generator itself is a lot cheaper, but the plumbing for the Venturi is a lot harder and not as certain how well it's working. We use the JED 303, which is an ozone generator that has an air pump in it. So the ozone generator itself is a little more expensive, but the plumbing is super simple. I mean, you just run the hose through the lid of the tub, and then you see it working because it pumps the bubbles of the ozone gas. So we really love it. I think our customers have enjoyed it. So that's the option we do currently, is we'll sell you the JED 303, and we already have the hole and everything in the lid. So it's a super easy add-on.
And, I think keeping with the modular design, like, I know wasn't your initial intent, but it is modular. So, and I have heard that, and I haven't experienced it myself, but I have heard that, the ozones don't last forever either. People don't realize that. So it's easy with yours. You just swap it out.
Yeah.
Super easy, right? Have you experienced ozones failing at all? No.
No.
And what do you recommend running it?
We've been in
like 30 minutes a day, or?
Yeah, typically we say 30 minutes a night. I mean, people will have to find the thing about water sanitation that's really tough and hard to be overly prescriptive of, like, this is how you do it, is everyone's water's a little different. Everyone's situation's a little different, based on what kind of detergent you use on your clothes, based on if you have a dog. I mean, just everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. So you can give guidelines and, like, generally this is kind of what you should do, but people will have to dial away and, like, what they like to do for water sanitation and what works for their situation. But typically ozone, about 30 minutes a night is what most people do.
One thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is winterizing the cold plunge. I was very worried about cold winters when I first got into it and bought the product, but I feel like from what I've seen from you, even people who live in very cold temperatures, their chillers don't seem to break, right? As long as they keep them on, nothing really freezes inside. What's been your experience with cold winters and your customers?
Yeah, for sure. There's like our official stance, and there's what I actually think. So I'll give you the raw uncut thing. Or our official stance is, freezing is not covered under warranty. Customers are going to have to take some responsibility to make sure their unit is protected in the cold weather. What we've actually seen in my experience is, if the water is flowing, it does not freeze. So if the pump generates enough heat when it's running and the water's moving, that as long as you keep the water flowing, you're going to be fine. And even in situations, so that mainly comes into play with changing your filter, because as the filter gets clogged, it slows down the flow of the water through the whole system. So if your filter gets clogged in the cold weather, then you might have some problems with freezing because the water's not moving through that filter. It just stops there. So then you can have some freezing. But even when we've seen that, the part that freezes and has issues is that filter housing. It'll crack when it freezes, which, is not awesome. That's like a $50 part, or I'm not even sure what we sell it to customers for when their filter housing cracks. But I mean, that's not like that's an easy thing to replace. The chiller itself, even like we've seen freezing in the chiller before, but I don't know if it's just the design and the way that the water can expand through the chiller. We've never had the reservoir or any internal components crack within the chiller in 3 years of doing this. So even if the chiller freezes, you just take it out. You might have to let it thaw so the ice can melt, but it doesn't break the chiller. So I think, people, stress about winterizing and stuff. My main advice is just keep the water flowing. Just if you lose power, then the pump's going to stop moving water. Then I would drain it or definitely be more concerned. We offer that chiller bypass hose, so you can bring the chiller inside if you want. But yeah, that's been our experience, is really not a ton of issues with freezing or cold weather.
Why have you guys opted not to do like every other cold plunge company on the market and sell an inflatable unit?
Man, it's a good question. I think we just believe so much in our product. Like, the inflatables are pretty similar to us price wise, and yeah, I mean, that's the simple answer. Is I think we sell a much more durable and insulated product for about the same price. I don't really think we would have the margin to get an inflatable and sell it for much lower. And I think inflatables have their place. Like, I'm not going to talk bad about them, because I think it's better entry level. It's good if you're wanting to move it around a lot and stuff.
Cheaper to ship.
A lot cheaper to ship, but if you're serious about cold plunging and you think it's going to be part of your routine, I think we've got a lot better value than most of the inflatables, especially because they're paired with the all-in-one chillers, which would be very, very weary of, or just mindful of what you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, my personal thought is, I feel like, especially for like more established cold plunge companies, like I'm not even talking about the all-in-ones. I'm done with them. But for the more established companies, I personally, these are my words, not yours, I feel like the inflatables are kind of a cash grab, because yeah, they can pick them up for like, probably, like, depending on how many they buy, they could probably get them for like $50, $100 each. They sell them for $1,000. They're cheaper to ship. And yeah, they could, and so they could still sell them for a high price, get really good margins on them. And yeah, I feel like it's really catered for people that are starting out. And yeah, they don't know how serious they're going to be, but I do feel like most people, like, if cold plunging is going to be something that's going to stick in your household, like, just there's no place for an inflatable if you don't plan on moving it. So it's good to see that you guys have resisted the easy cash grab, because I'm sure you could make some quick cash just flipping some inflatables.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is tough, like, just running. We sell one product. I mean, we sell some accessories and stuff, but that always is a thought of, like, how do we grow the business? And I think even our strategy has changed over time. Like, if I had to break it down year by year, we launched the Cold Plunge in February of 23. 2023 was just all crazy and all fun, because we had tons of back orders, supply chain was slow, so it was all problems with growth, and most of it was pretty organic. We're not paying hardly anything in marketing. It was just growing naturally, and it was just so fun. 2024, we really tried to grow a lot, and we did grow, but we spent a lot more on marketing. We put this big emphasis on, like, hey, we want to be right up there with the top couple cold plunge companies. And honestly, it just wasn't as fun. Like, we grew quite a bit, but I think somewhere along the way, I just stopped having fun. And this year, we're trying to just dial it back a little bit of like, look, whatever our company is, like I'm going to enjoy it because I get to do it with my brother. We get to have a lot of fun. And I don't care if we're the third biggest cold plunge company. I just care that we get to provide a great product at a great price, and I get to enjoy doing it with my brother and serving customers. So I think we're trying to, like, at times we've wanted to look, bigger and, oh, we're working with these awesome athletes and these celebrities and stuff. And that stuff just hasn't proven that valuable. So we're kind of going the other direction and just like, look, we sell a great product. We're a couple small town guys from Texas, and we're just here to serve you. And we hope you choose us. And that's kind of it.
So I hear, are you guys also doing a sauna?
The sauna's on hold or basically dead in the water right now. We're not planning to.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you see these trends, and I wasn't expecting every cold plunge company to start doing like modular saunas and stuff, but now it's just everywhere. So you guys are kind of going out on that for the time being.
Yeah. There's been some challenges with it. I mean, we had some ideas about how we could, make one cheaper and better and more accessible that goes really well with our cold plunge. And we got pretty far down the line, and just some of the things we thought were true that mainly around VOCs, like off-gassing harmful things. So the theory was, with the rise of infrared saunas are dry and they generally operate at a lower heat. So people have stayed away from these paneled woods, plywoods in saunas for a long time, especially with traditional heaters, because that's a wet heat and it's insanely high temperatures. Our theory was kind of, with the rise of infrared, that's a lower temperature and a dry heat, could you use a paneled wood? And our initial tests all showed really good that like there wasn't any off-gassing concerns, but the deeper we got into it, our latest tests did just kind of nip that in the bud to say, yeah, I mean, there are concerns. There's reasons that people don't do this. And, it was pretty tough to pull the plug on it. There are some other factors too of why we're putting it on the back burner. Some other companies that we're friends with that sell similar products, and we decided to step back kind of out of respect for them to some extent, some partially because of just the challenges of creating a better value sauna with a paneled wood.
That's great. I mean, I can't stress that enough. I mean, we're all doing this because we want to better our health. So it's great to hear about a company that tried it and was kind of like, maybe it's not for us right now, and just kind of waiting to see if there's better solutions available.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do think there are some cool stuff going on in the sauna space. I mean, I've got some of the tent saunas. I've tried some different infrared ones, and I think saunas differ from cold plunges. And what I said earlier about cold plunges is cold plunges all pretty much do the same thing. I mean, maybe some of them have lights, maybe some of them have some are upright, some are lounging. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tub full of cold water. Like, they're all pretty much the same. Saunas, completely different beasts. You've got traditional saunas, you've got infrared saunas, you've got barrel saunas, you've got individual saunas, you've got 220 volt saunas, you've got wood burning saunas. I mean, it's just like you get this whole spectrum, and people feel really, really passionately about whatever sauna they really like, because they're all pretty different experiences, and they all do different things at different price points at different sizes. Where I feel like our cold plunge can satisfy 95% of the market. Like, if you're looking for a great cold plunge, we sell a great cold plunge. So.
Are there any questions that you want to ask me as a customer of your product?
Main thing is it up and running, or did it get damaged in the fire?
The fire happened on January 6th. And so it was like freezing here. So I had to winterize it. And then I never put it back together. So I brought it all in, and now I got the tub sitting out back. So, but I mean, I really did enjoy it before the fire happened, but it survived the fire, but I just haven't gotten it back up and running yet.
Yeah, well, you got to
Yeah.
get it up and running. I think that's the main thing is you got to
Yeah,
get
no, I
plunging
mean, I
in
got
it.
the Atlantic Ocean across the street, so I've been doing that a lot. And, some other companies have sent me some stuff, so I've been like testing out that stuff. But yeah, I do plan on doing it. But like I said, for the time that I was able to do it, I mean, it was incredible. I would just wake up in the morning, just without thinking, just jump right in there. Most of the time, just naked, honestly, because like you said, with the detergents and everything, it's just so much easier just to do it naked if you can. And yeah, it just woke me up. It was just great. It was just easy. I mean, setting your product up it was just a breeze. So I had a lot of fun with it.
Man, well, I appreciate that endorsement. Yeah, like I said, everything we try to do is try to make things just super, super simple. But what I watched your review video. I can't remember the negatives you said. What feedback would you have for me of improvement?
Um, I mean, I guess like to nitpick, like it could have been maybe a little longer. I think you said you already took care of that. I mean, like what else? What else? I mean, yeah, I mean, I personally think that you guys should just sell it with the ozone in there. I think ozone's such a great feature. Although I guess like you said, some people have issues with ozone. I guess maybe the science isn't totally out on that, so maybe you don't. But I do think it's nice. I would have loved to try it with the ozone feature in there. And also it's funny because like your insulation and the lid was just so tight and so good that sometimes like the water just got funky a little quick, I guess, because everything was just so trapped in there. So I felt like it did need a little bit more sanitation than I was giving it, and I despise chlorine. So like my thought was I was just doing new water like once a week, which I guess that would be another recommendation would be to like maybe put another outlet just that you could just like flip a switch that would just like empty the water, so you don't have to like reconfigure it. Like have a separate like water out for draining it. But I'm just being super nitpicky.
Yeah,
But
no, I appreciate it. It's A, appreciate the feedback because you're a customer and you've used it. B, it gives me some hope that we did solve for a lot of that with the new tub. It's got drain ports on either end that are separate from the plumbing of the actual
that's so
cold
huge.
plunge.
No other tub really does that. I
So,
think maybe Regen does it. But it's such a it's such an underrated feature that people just don't think about, is if you could just like flip a switch and then water just comes out the backside and you don't have to mess around with your plumbing to drain it.
yeah. Yeah, the ozone word is interesting too. I'm not disagreeing with you at all because I use ozone on mine and I really enjoy it. The challenges are something that I've found kind of interesting is a lot of cold plunge manufacturers, they have ozone on there and some of them have the ozone running 24/7 and they don't really, from my understanding, tell customers that well. And ozone can affect your breathing or if you have lung issues or anything. So that's the main reason we stay away from just including it, is we want people to, if they want it, they can add it, but they have to know the risk. Like most people recommend you only use ozone if you're outside or in a well ventilated area. Everyone's different. I'm not a scientist, so we try to just let it be on the consumer to make that decision if they want it or not, instead of some companies, I feel like, kind of just sneak the ozone in there and don't even really tell people about the risk or anything. So that was our thinking behind it, but I do get
Yeah, it makes
'cause is
sense.
a
Or
nice
maybe just
feature.
like more education on it. Like I said, but like we said, the science isn't settled on it either. I'm seeing more, like I'm testing out a unit this week with like UV, so I'm excited to see how that works. So yeah, that would be another cool thing.
In general, cold water wants to stay clean as opposed to hot tubs. Hot tubs are just a petri dish to grow bacteria and all sorts of nasty stuff. So, changing the water weekly does seem pretty extreme. 'Cause we have a lot of customers who've gone 6 months without changing it, and most of them are using ozone. And then we sell that maintenance kit with the Serona chemicals, which is mainly hydrogen peroxide in the oxidizer. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And like I said, everyone's kind of got to dial in what works for them based on what kind of contaminants they're bringing into the water. But you should be getting more than a week. So if you get it back up and running, hit me up. We'll figure out how to get your water
and
maintenance
just for
in.
the record, I only did that because I don't want to like just fuck with anything. Like I just wanted to be like certain that it was good water, and like especially with like dunking my head, I just didn't want to take any chances, you know. And I love like breaking a sweat and then jumping in there. So the water, you know, probably wasn't the best water. Like I wasn't like showering before going in. So, cool. Jesse Hodge, do you have a cold take for me?
Cold take. I was thinking about this, and I'll give you two cold takes that are both against my great state of Texas. So, In-N-Out Burger is better than Whataburger.
Well, yeah. People don't think that.
No, Texans all think Whataburger is really good, and it's not very good.
Yeah,
and
not at all. In-N-Out's incredible.
It's so good. It's cheap. So the In-N-Out's fries, I used to think they weren't very good, but then I realized you just have to ask them to like double dip them or make them extra crispy, and then they're phenomenal. So
I always just do the animal style fries.
Yeah, I do the animal burger, but not the animal fries. But, you know, to each their own. So, and then the other one, kind of in that same vein, and this might not even resonate for people outside of Texas, but beans do belong in chili. Texas is really big about like, oh, no beans in your chili.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, I like beans in chili. So I didn't know that was the thing. So and most Texans don't think that beans should be in chili?
Yep, like the Texas way of chili is no beans.
Just ground beef.
It's pretty anti-Texan to put beans in your chili.
Okay.
And I love Texas. I know those were two anti-Texas takes, but...
And you're based out of Dallas, right? Or just outside?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas.
Cool. If you could put one message on a billboard, what would it be?
Oh, man. One message on a billboard. Well, I'll talk about my faith for a minute. I don't know if that's where you wanted this to go, but you know, everything we do, I'm a Christian, and I think when we're trying to run business, there's like so many decisions you have to make that all have different moral implications and everything. And we've really tried to take the stance of like, at the end of the day, I just want to stand before God and just be able to say like, I did business as honestly as I could, and I just tried to serve people as best as I could. So, you know, MODTUB is not like, we love all of our customers regardless of your faith background or anything, but I really try to do business in a way that I can feel proud of and that I can stand before God and say, look, MODTUB was a vehicle that I had a platform that I got to bring you glory and hopefully give people some encouragement or some energy through cold plunging or whatever. So yeah, I think through talking through that, I'd probably say, you can't biohack salvation.
Wow, that's great.
Like I've gotten, you know, relatively into biohacking and stuff of just trying to optimize your body and everything. And I think there's a lot that's good about that. There's a lot that, you know, you were given this body, you want to take care of it so you can live a long time, so you can have energy for your family, for your friends, for whatever. So I think there's elements of that are really good. I think where it can get dangerous is where people think that they can become this perfect person, or like their fulfillment can come from being totally optimized. It's like your fulfillment's going to come from loving and serving others, and from your family and friends, and from your faith, and from that kind of stuff. And taking care of your body is a means to that end. It's not an end itself. So that's how I view it, and just where I see it get a little dangerous when people get like crazy into their health and optimization is it's all so I can live forever, so I can have this perfect life or be totally fulfilled in it, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my girlfriend is going to love that message. She tells me all the time, she's like, Mike, you're just too into your health. You just care way too much. I'm like, you know, just not ordering so many things at restaurants and just doing so much. And yeah, sometimes you just do have to question, like, what is this all for? And I think what you just said is perfect, where it's like, let's biohack so that we could live a better life in our community, rather than the reverse, which is let's live a better life in our community so that we could be better biohackers. It's people have it all mixed up sometimes, and me especially. So phenomenal message. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I am essentially MODTUB's Instagram. I don't have my own, so I just hit up MODTUB on Instagram, and my email is jesse@modtub.co, so not that hard to find. But yeah, check out our social media, our website, and we're here.
Thanks so much.
This is the Cold Plunge Podcast with me, Mike Gorman. Be sure to check out the video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel, and check the show notes for any references, studies, or links to anything I spoke about on our website at plungereviews.com/podcasts.